So we're already open, and thanks for everybody that showed up tonight. And we've got a couple things on the go. So first, we'll have the minutes of the previous meeting. Moved by Councilor Anderson, second by Deputy Mayor Faulkner, that the minutes of the January 5th, 2016 council meeting be approved. All in favor? Carried. That pen's done. Okay. Additional items disclosed for other business. By bunch. Okay, moving on. What?
He's got to say it before he goes away.
Nothing about the IPM today?
Yeah,
It's coming. It's coming. We're not going to get through this without IPM update. Okay. Where's my notes on this one?
Keep going.
There we go. Back here.
You're in the internet.
Yeah.
Telling me.
Telling you.
Oh, you're in iBooks.
I'm in iBooks. Yeah. So.
Page 9.
Okay.
Right here.
All right. So we're in the new world, eh? So we got we're not no paper anymore. So I'm learning. It was interesting the budget meeting because we put a little money in for training. Mostly it's for the council, I think. I think the staff are catching up pretty quick. But we have a little money in there for us to train a little bit more, and hopefully the mayor will get this. So this is today we're going to be meeting on a public meeting, and I will be chairing the public meeting, and it's called in order to request any member of the public present to please sign in. If everybody signed in at the attendance record, and if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the town of Minto before the bylaw is passed, the person or public bodies is not entitled to appeal the decision of the town of Minto to the Ontario Municipal Board, and the persons or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the board unless, in the opinion of the board, there's reasonable grounds to do so. So I'll turn it over to CEO Clerk White to state the municipal address, legal description of the property, and the purpose of and effect of the application and date notices were sent.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. The subject property is located on Lot 9 in Harriston, has a municipal address of 46 Robertson Street. The proposed amendment is to rezone the subject lands from single-family residential R1B to medium-density residential R2 to permit a fourplex. Other zoning relief may be considered for the proposal where appropriate. Notices were mailed to property owners within 400 feet or 120 meters of the subject lands and to applicable agencies and posted on the subject property December 23rd, 2015. Comments were received from the Town of Minto staff. You have the building assistance report in your package. Mark Van Patter, Manager of Planning and Environment, who is here tonight. We had several letters from members of the public. I'll get to those here. The first one was received today from Margaret Church regarding 46 Robertson Street, having concerns about a lot more traffic on the street, which is residential, parking, animals in the area, hydro lines to the property, comes off a pole and crossing the subject lands. The age of the home and the renovation, and other concerns regarding the proposed rezoning, including some issues regarding what's inside the home. We also had a letter from Bob and Pat Heron of 52 Robertson Street, and their letter is shown there. They have concern with traffic, backyard campfires, animal concerns, noise, property value. Another letter from, is there any other letters? So there was some other letters that I don't seem to have on this particular package. And then we had no letters from the Conservation Authority or the any other agencies. Stacy, if I may, through you, Mayor Bridge, do you have those other letters in your file?
I can grab
if you wouldn't mind.
I have. We have two on ours, Bill.
I mustn't have got mine updated.
We have two on ours now?
I have two on mine, so they've been updated. So you maybe only have one on yours.
Did you update?
So it'd be three with this letter, right?
Part?
I didn't read. Is that the same letter?
Oh, yes, I have a second one here.
Thank you.
Was that another letter there, Bill?
Yes, this is the one I summarized
Okay.
from Margaret Church, and there's a letter from Jeremy Sharkey of 63 Robertson Street. It has concerns with building the fourplex, lower property values, traffic. And then from Brandon and Sarah Moore of 47 Robertson Street, concerns regarding lack of sufficient space for parking, increased traffic, increased noise, state of repair of the building, negative impact on property value, impact of the rental in type of rental units, and proximity to mainly single-family homes. I believe those are all the letters, Mayor Bridge, Council.
Okay. We should have Mark come up and talk to the planning
applicant or agent.
Yeah. Okay. I will call on the applicant or agent to provide comments regarding the proposed amendment to the comprehensive zoning bylaw, number 100186. The applicants want to speak to the. Not here? Oh, he's not here. Okay. All right. Anybody wishes to comment in favor of the proposed amendment? Nobody representing anybody on that side? Okay. The applicant or agent is given an opportunity to rebuttal. Okay. In opposition of the proposed amendment, anybody want to speak in opposition to the proposed amendment, other than the letters? But if you want, yes, go ahead. Please come up to the mic and state your name, and because you're on TV, we have to give you that for a warning. Yeah, that's it. People do watch us, though. It's amazing.
My name's Richard Lawson. I live and own 64 Robertson Street. The street is busy. Sundays there's a race to the church. Anytime activity happens, traffic gets diverted, and erroneously or however it gets diverted down our street. There's high speed. There's a blind hill on the street. When there's fireworks and events, parking is very limited. To add 4 more homes in the space that the rest of us call a single home is kind of ridiculous. Where do kids play? Where do you park your car? Inevitably, you're going to end up with people, as most of us, we have kids, they start to drive, then, well, a single family home will end up with usually 1 extra car, and then we're all praying that they do well and don't come back. But until that happens, how do we deal with potentially 4, 8, 12 more cars if everybody starts to park? And already we're starting to see some of the homes where people are parking on the lawns. I don't know, it doesn't really bother me from an aesthetic point of view, but I don't know where the water main runs. But if you start doing that, last year, you people footed the bills for a lot of thawing out our water mains. What are you going to do with that? The street is old. The infrastructure is old. I don't know if anybody here is quite happy with our new water rates. So when you start to ding us more for looking after our equipment that keeps us happy, I think you're going to get me for another % or 2 every year until it's looked after. And just like Hydro, we know it never gets looked after. It's a nice street. It's quiet. The homes are old. They're not too big. It's a nice eclectic mix of homes. There's a lot of senior citizens on our road. You go for a walk now, and you have to dodge cars, dodge trucks, tractor trailers. There's some businesses around that cater to some of those, but it's getting busier and busier. I've only been here for 10 years, but my kids are older, so I'm not that concerned. But nicely for the rest of us, there's nice young families with lots of little kids moving in. It's too busy. There's no space for 4. I don't know how it's run or how long it's been, but it's zoned single family. It's a duplex right now. It's been a duplex from before I got here. So if the town can't keep a hold of that, what's going to happen when it's 4 and somebody starts to rent the basement without getting a legal permit? How's the fire department going to love that? You can see these things happen south of here. A lot of us came here because it's quiet. I'm happy here. I drive 100 kilometers to work. So I have many places to look. It's affordable here. Parks are nice. People are nice. I'm not against 4 more nice families, but if they're as big as me, we won't fit. So that's all I have to say. There's no space on Robertson for 4-plex. A duplex might be pushing it. I think I'd have to be quiet if that's what you did. But to suggest that this duplex or singleplex could be a 4-plex, I don't know where you're going to fit it, because when the golf ball or baseball comes to my house, I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
So that's all I have.
Well, thank you for your comments. Do you have any questions for applicant? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to say anything? Yeah. Come on up, Chesh Bob. Come on up. You're used to a mic.
This is short here.
Yeah,
Yes, okay.
Yeah, you're used to this.
I'm Bob Heron from 52 Robertson Street. I'd like to invite you to kind of read my letter in detail. There's quite a bit in it and quite a bit of concern. Other than the smoke from backyards and the campfires, one paragraph really sticks with me. We also genuinely feel that the security of our property and our personal assets may be at risk if we were to put forward a complaint to the town regarding the late night noise, campfires, dogs, conditions of the property that some renters may have, and the potential of foul language. Our greatest opposition is the impact of our property value. Many of us purchase a home to acquire equity. Our investment would be greatly reduced, as generally tenants have less commitment to property standards and curb appeal and appearance, making our location less appealing if we were to sell. That's what all I have, and everything else I have right here.
And we had your letter, Bob. That
Great.
was good.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
coming up.
Thanks, Bob.
And you can come up together. We allow joint things like this.
I'm Diane Morgan, and I live at 59 Robertson Street.
And I'm Blake Morgan, and I also live at
So far it's working out. Okay, go ahead.
Pretty much we have most of the same concerns that you've already heard. I mean, the noise factor, definitely the traffic factor. We've lived on Robertson Street for 15 years, and we've enjoyed it because it's always been a nice little quiet street. When we moved there, it was, I'm going to say, more elderly people lived on the street, so therefore it was more quiet. Our kids are grown up now, so they're not little kids anymore. And there are more younger families there, and that's great. We don't have a problem with younger families. We love all the kids on the street. But as far as safety goes, definitely that would be a concern if there was a 4-plex in there. Not just the traffic and the parking, and no offense to the people. I mean, not everybody who is poor and can't afford to buy a house and rent are bad people, but sometimes you do get those types of people that are not good people. And I wouldn't want those types of people living across the street from me. And I'm sure the other young families with little kids would not want those types of people living there either. My other concern was, yes, the depreciation in value of the homes in the area if you bring in such a type of 4-plex. And my other concern too was the infrastructure, the water and sewers. I mean, it is old. There's no way, I don't think, over the next 10 or 20 years, that infrastructure would be able to accommodate a 4-plex in there.
We brought our family 15 years ago to 59 Robertson Street. We raised our 3 girls. Right now we have 2 young grandchildren that come and play at our house. Having 4, 6, maybe 8 vehicles across the street from us coming and going, it is a huge concern for me. There's kids on bicycles. There's a lot of young families on the street now. The infrastructure from a hydro perspective seems very fragile in front of that area. We've had many, many power outages since we've been there.
We've had live wires come down and be across the road because of ice buildup and that type of thing as well. So there's that safety issue too.
It should be a single family dwelling at this point. We moved there because it was a nice quiet area.
And we'd like it to remain.
Yeah, we want it to stay that way.
Thank you for coming.
Terry.
Perry, come on, Perry. Yeah, I think we can work. Did you say Perry?
Or Terry.
Terry.
Yeah. Anyway.
Did you call me Perry?
Well, you did. You did.
I've been called worse.
Then he sucked me in because I thought that was right.
Yeah, no.
I thought
Terry.
Terry
It's not a
was.
problem. My name's Terry Heisey. I live at 32 Robertson Street, and there's pretty well all the concerns that that the other people, the other taxpayers have said tonight. But I know there's one thing that I've been thinking of, and it's our EMS ambulance service. It is right down at the end of that street, right by the water tower there, as you all know. And you know, I don't know how many times a day they go out at, and you know, the more you get, the more traffic going, and just there's a whole pile of little things there that seem to come to mind that you think that you need to really look at when you guys do make your decision of that's about. There's a lot of good points that they have made tonight, so it's very. But I didn't hear them talk about EMS, and I just wanted to bring that up to you too. So,
for sure.
so anyhow,
Question on that.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor. On the EMS, Terry, do you find that the ambulance heads towards Margaret Street as opposed to going up Robertson westbound?
I would.
Maybe 50-50?
50-50,
I don't know.
I would say.
Just
Like you never hear them. It's always just you see their flashing lights. That's where but you know, until you get down to the end of the street. So I would say it's 50-50, Ron,
Yep,
of
okay.
which way they go.
Thank you.
But, okay.
Thanks, Terry. Okay, I before I get to council to ask any questions, I would think I'd like Mark to come up, if you wouldn't mind. Mark's our county and a local planner. So you have a report there, Mark. Maybe you can shed some light. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure how much light I can shed,
Well, yeah, a good report. I mean, it's there. Yeah.
but I'll go through my report and just sort of outline kind of the context that we're dealing with. The property's got a 66-foot frontage. It's 149.5 feet, 9,867 square feet. The purpose of the application, it was sort of twofold the way that it was written on the application. The idea was that the person wanted to have a duplex there and possibly in the future a fourplex. That's sort of how the application was put. Now, I did talk with Nathan Harper. He's the applicant. He's not the owner. I guess right now, Christian Groten House is the owner, and Nathan Harper's got a purchase and sales agreement, so he's bought the property. Nathan mentioned me that the house was legally established non-conforming duplex built around 1940. So apparently it's been used as a duplex for years, but more recently maybe for a single detached, although I'm hearing from the neighbors that there's more than one family there. As I mentioned, he said his main purpose was to get a duplex permitted on the property, and also that small possibility that he might want to replace the building with a new building, a fourplex. So it's not, if he does go to the fourplex, it'll be a brand new building. The purchase of the property is not conditional on approval of the zoning bylaw. I thought maybe at first it might be, but I guess it's not. The sketch really didn't provide much information. There was no sketch, and there was not much information on where the house sits on the property, like setbacks and stuff like that. So we're a bit in the dark about that. Now, in terms of policy, generally, these days in Ontario, we're encouraged for intensification, both in the provincial policy statement as well as the official plan. However, the county plan talks about balancing that desire for intensification along with compatibility with an existing neighborhood. So that's sort of what council is charged with, is trying to balance that out when you get applications like this. The neighboring properties, most of the areas, residential R1B for single detached houses. There is 2 R2 zone properties, the 4th and 5th house to the south, I believe, on Robertson Street. So they're single detached houses, but there would be an ability to, as a right, to put 4 units in there if they can fit them in. So those 2 houses already have that, right?
Which ones would those be on
Which
the
one?
map?
Yeah.
Or which way we
It's
going?
to the right.
72.
Same side of the road, Mark? Same side of the road, and 4th and 5th lot down. Or zone.
No, it's the last 2 they're showing there.
He's talking zoning, not
Zoning.
the actual.
No, yeah, it just, it's right now it's single family there.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So
That's
they
down
are
in the bottom right
single-family
corner.
houses, but they're zoned for up to 4.
68 and 72. Or 68, 76.
Yeah, so I'm not sure when that
Right there.
zoning came into effect, but that's just the way it is right now. I don't know if there's enough room on the properties to do too much, but
that'd be right.
also right across kitty corner from the properties at the corner of I guess it's Brock Street, Robertson, there's 2 semi-detached homes. They're older yellow brick homes.
Yep.
Right across the corner. So there's, it's not entirely an R1 neighborhood, but for the most part it is. In terms of the duplex, I don't think I have any concerns going to a duplex. It sounds like it's always been a duplex and it was created that way. We can ask the applicant to provide some evidence of that, but I'm not too concerned about a duplex for the size. More concerned about a fourplex. And I put in the letter my comments what the regulations are for a fourplex in a R2 zone. I think a fourplex could probably physically fit on the property. It might be a bit tight, but we'd want to see a site plan on how it could fit on there. The county official plan, though, contains criteria for evaluating intensification. Now, I think that's sort of what council would want to look at. The problem is you don't know what you're getting. We don't have any design for the house, and so it's really hard to evaluate that. Some of these things, there's a list of them here, and maybe just for the audience, I'll read through them briefly. The criteria that council is supposed to look at if they want to go into intensification is to compatibility of the proposed in terms of the built form, the building height and massing, maintenance of the lotting pattern, ability of infrastructure to accommodate it, impact on the streetscape and protection of municipal trees, impact on the adjacent properties in relation to grading, drainage, access, parking, privacy, views, outdoor amenities, and shadowing, and conservation of cultural heritage resources. Now, I don't really think we can get at all of those things just through site plan control or through the building permit process. So you're really not able to, unless you've got a detailed design in front of you, you're really not able to evaluate that very well. And one of the problems with this is that, if council were to approve a fourplex, if they were to approve a fourplex, you don't know what you're getting. The neighbors don't know what they're getting, and they would once you get to the site plan control process, there's no appeal for the public. So I almost think that I could see council supporting a duplex, or if the applicant really wants to go down the fourplex road, I think he should be providing a very detailed information. The other way of coming at it is to support the duplex now, but require another rezoning in the future for a fourplex if at that time he wants to do it. So those are just some options I think council
I'll
has.
open it up to questions. Deputy Mayor Falcon.
And Mark, the way I read that R2 is that it could be a duplex or a fourplex, so that if we allow a duplex and then all of a sudden down the road he decides that he's going to tear it down and build a new building, we wouldn't have any say on that fourplex.
I think what we would do is we put a special zone on it, like an exception zone, so we could call it an R2.
Okay, I just
exception.
want to make sure that we would have that option
Yeah.
that somebody would have to come back to us if they wanted to do a fourplex, if we allowed the duplex.
That's right. We can do
Okay.
that. We can limit them to
Okay,
two, and then if
because-
they want any more, we can require rezoning.
Okay.
Through you, Mayor Bridge, I'm just trying to understand. Right now, it is zoned as a single or zoned as a duplex.
It's zoned as a single, but my understanding is that
It's been a duplex.
it's been duplex for years.
Okay, not.
So I think it may have a legal non-conforming status.
Yep.
So they may have
Right.
a right to continue.
Absolutely.
So what did? Excuse me. They could make it a duplex, and we couldn't do anything about it. Is
Yeah,
that what you're
if
saying?
it is in fact a legally established non-conforming use, like quite often, you get uses that are established even before the zoning bylaw came into effect. You might have a house next to a factory, and that whole area is industrial now, but the house is still it's grandfathered in. So this place may be a legal duplex that may be grandfathered in.
We'd have to check that, but
Yeah,
it's
we'd have to check.
1940, I think it was. You said it was built. Terry, do you have any? You want to come up here for a second? Do you have any information that can help us with that?
I do.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Right. So the house used to have legal non-conforming status, not as a duplex. A duplex is a horizontal split, so unit top and below. This is a front to back split, relatively. So there's one unit up front, 2-story, and then another 2-story unit to the back. A few years ago, I'm not sure who owned it at the time, converted it from a 2-unit building into a single family dwelling. So essentially there's stairs to the basement, and they just knocked a hole through the wall and converted into all as one unit. Now the applicant is trying to legalize the duplex, or sorry, the 2-unit use to the building. It is being operated as 2 separate units. There's no fire separation in between the two, so it's definitely not a good thing, and that's something that the applicant is trying to fix up. First he's doing the zoning, then he's going to apply for the building permits to get the fire separation back, not back in place, get a proper one in place.
So we end up with, we have to approve the site, or
Zoning has to go first before I could issue a permit.
Yeah. All right. Ron and then Judy.
I'd have a very difficult time doing anything and moving forward with this unless I had to see the detailed information, at least talk to the applicant. I don't think we can, at least I'm not comfortable with moving forward with anything like this until at least I talk to them, or at least I see something exactly what's playing. My thoughts were he was going to build a brand new one. And
that's the proposal for the fourplex.
If he goes
the 2-unit is basically just to legalize what was there previously. The use stopped for more than a year,
Yeah.
so then they lose that legal
that
non-conforming
was the
status.
misinformation that I
Oh, okay.
kind of misunderstood. So that's where I stand.
Yep. Judy.
So I had a question for Mark, if I may. You had mentioned that question 13 was not filled in.
Correct.
Sorry, I don't know what question 13 is. How important is
It
that?
deals with things like setbacks, from the property
Oh, I
boundaries.
see. Okay. Okay.
So we really don't know where
Okay.
it is.
And then my other, I guess, a comment is it would appear that this property could use a facelift. And so I would think then that doing all of this work to get a building permit and doing that work would be fairly costly. So I'm not, I guess I just don't understand the idea of spending all that money fixing it up and then maybe tearing it down and putting a fourplex.
The cost to upgrade the fire separation actually isn't that bad. It's labor intensive as all get out, but it's just essentially the dividing walls. It's just putting a layer of fire rated drywall on both sides.
Oh, I see.
So it's a lot of work, physical work, but material wise, it's not that costly. Like you're talking $2,000 to $5,000 maybe.
Okay, so they're not planning to do a lot of other work then. It's basically just getting it back to being legal.
I can't commit to what the owner's
Okay.
going to do. His plan was to fix, like basically to dress the property up and clean it up, but
We gotta see.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Mark, a non-conforming duplex. It has been a duplex before, so that gives him the right to continue to make it a duplex, or could we say, no, it's a single-family dwelling?
Well, it sounds to me like with what Terry's saying, that it ceased to become a duplex or a 2-unit house. They put a door in between the 2 units, and then it became a single detached dwelling. So they may have lost their right to be legal non-conforming. So then you're just dealing with whether or not you want to support a 2-unit. It's there.
I'll make a comment, and thanks for your report, Mark. The one thing was the non-conforming. I thought maybe they still had that. If they don't have that, I'd like to see it stay as a single family. I think the neighborhood has got enough density, and the church is very busy. We have the ambulance there. We have a lot of things. It's a narrow street. I don't know why we would want to in this case, and I understand provincial guidelines and on a planning situation. We're to look at intensification and get more units per lot size and everything. That's part of the provincial government's policy, build up and not out. But in this case, I think that we still have a little bit of a realm of ability to, as a council level, to control that in our ways and see what our community looks like. And then this one doesn't quite fit in my mind. And I thought you made a good point on that. And the other thing that bothers me a little bit is we have questions for the applicant tonight, and he's not here. And that really bothers me because Councillor Elliott had a question, wondered about certain things. I mean, would have questions for him. Lots of his neighbors or new neighbors have come with their questions. I'm really upset why he's not here. I hope there's a good reason why he's not here, because I think it's almost a waste of the process. And I'll get a little bit of ranting now. But anyways, I wouldn't support. If it isn't non-conforming, I'd leave it. I'd keep it as a single in my mind. Anyways, any more questions for our 2 experts up here? Oh, then I'll move on with the process. Any questions from anybody, or any more comments? No? Okay.
Mayor Bridge, just procedurally, so we don't have a zoning amendment for council tonight. So we've gathered information. There'll be a record made of the public hearing and all the comments received. And then at some point, I guess the planner and our CBO or building department staff will speak with the applicant, and we'll have to report back to council on what the options are, but pretty clear opposition at the very least to a 4-plex. So I would imagine that the recommendation, any bylaw that comes back, we would give notice to the people who have signed the record here before any bylaw is presented to actually change the zoning.
Right on. Okay, so as the chair, I will state, if you wish to be notified of the decision of council of the town of Minto in respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, you must make a written request to the clerk of the town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Harrison, OG 1ZO, or by email billwhite@townofminto.on.ca. If there no further comment, I will adjourn this public meeting. And thanks for everybody coming and participating.
Thank you. Scared me. I wasn't expecting that.
And you don't have to sit through the rest of it if you don't want to. I always say,
you're welcome to.
I always say that. We
welcome to.
We love to
hear Mr. Nader, of course.
Yeah, you could, actually, our next delegation, you might want to listen, because we have Mr. Nader, your MP, and he's going to, I think, might be worthwhile to have an audience for him. John, would you like to come up and bring whoever you want up with you? You're going to introduce everybody, I assume.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. It's a pleasure to be here. One of the commitments I made after the election was to get around to all the different councils. So you're number 4 on the list. You would have been number 6, but a couple of mine were canceled by snowstorms in the last couple of days. But
we want to be number 1.
Well, you're number 1. You're number 1 in my heart. So it is good to be here, and it's great to see you've gone paperless. The House of Commons has also gone to iPads, and being a bit of a younger person in the House, I've been called upon a couple times to help out with the iPads among my colleagues. colleagues, and you'd be surprised how badly Euchre is on the iPad, how many times it crashes. So I have to help my colleagues with that from time to time. But
I know what you mean. I'm the youngest one here too.
Exactly.
But who helps speed?
But it is a pleasure to be here, and I'm going to be relatively brief tonight, but I just want to comment on a few services that my office can offer to constituents and to municipalities. I'll give a brief rundown of some of the priorities I see going forward, and then take back any comments or feedback or questions you may have for me going forward as well. So to start off things, we have 3 offices, 2 here in the riding and 1 in Ottawa. One of our offices is in Stratford, 59 Lorne Avenue, and the second one is in Harriston, 39 Laura Street. We're in the old post office building. Freshly moved in, we're still somewhat getting settled, but it's a beautiful, beautiful building, and my compliments to the town staff as well for all their work in assisting with that building, and Mike Hendrick and his team in renovating that building. It's a beautiful space, and it's nice to see that being redeveloped in downtown Harriston. Managing this office here in Harriston, she's with me tonight, is Terry White. She'll be managing the office. I made the commitment. You might recognize the last name here. She does have she's the better half of someone who's sitting at the front table here. So it's
Definitely the better.
but it is a full service office, and it is a full-time office. We're open 5 days a week there, 10 to 5. That was a commitment I made during the campaign. I thought it was important to have a full-time office in Wellington County. So we do have that there. We're still somewhat getting settled, but we do have phone lines in there now, and internet's on its way, so hopefully we'll be fully functioning. I thought I'd quickly go through some of the services that we do offer in case you come across constituents. You can send them our way, and if you ever have any questions about whether or not it is a federal jurisdiction or not, just give us a call, and if we can't help you, we will find out someone who can. So a few of the key things: Canada Pension Plan. Both retirement benefits as well as disability benefits. Those are things that our office can inquire on behalf of and help people out going through. Employment insurance, regular benefits, parental benefits, maternity benefits, sickness benefits, and compassionate care benefits. Quick note about compassionate care benefits. It has recently been extended to 6 months from a much shorter period before. So that is a benefit that was brought in before the election, and I'm pleased to see that the government is carrying on with that 6-month commitment for compassionate care benefits. Anything to do with immigration, so permanent residency, permanent residency cards, citizenship certificates, any challenges there. Currently, we are looking at bringing in certain Syrian refugees as well. So if there's any community groups that require assistance on that, don't hesitate to contact our office. We can assist as best we can. We also deal with the Canada Revenue Agency, which is probably the most traffic we get through our office. Anything related to CRA, whether it's income taxes, whether it's benefits of some sort, child tax benefits, disability benefits, the universal child care benefits, we see that often through our offices. We also deal with veterans issues. So if you ever have any challenges with a veteran who may or may not be receiving the benefits they're entitled to, please contact us. Too often people fall through the cracks, and it's simply because we don't know about it. So if you know of someone in a situation that requires assistance, please let us know, and we will do all we can to assist. There are a number of other things we deal with less frequently, but nonetheless are important on federal matters. So if you've come across something, don't hesitate to send people our way. We're happy to help out whenever and wherever we can. A few of the kind of priorities I see going forward and things I've touched on in the past. First and foremost is the infrastructure side of things. That's one of my things I heard time and time during the campaign. One of the things I feel personally is very important from my time on municipal council. So the current government did make a commitment to an additional $60 billion in infrastructure funding. So, like I said, I am an opposition MP, but there's no reason I can't work cooperatively and collaboratively with the government. So I do commend them on that commitment, and I do hope they'll carry through on it. It's looking like for the first 4 years in office, it's probably going to be about $17 billion, give or take. We'll see more details on that when the budget does come out. There's also some musing right now about the cost sharing of the programs, whether they'll move away from the 33-33-33 split, federal, provincial, municipal. We're not entirely sure where that is going, whether it was just a trial balloon that was floated, see how it works. There's pros and cons to that, of course. No one's going to turn down additional financing. The challenge is as well, though, if you're committing a greater percentage, there'll be fewer projects. So we have to balance those out as well. So we'll see what comes of that as well. The 3 key programs that they introduced were the green infrastructure, the social infrastructure, and the public transit infrastructure. I'm interested to see the details of each of those funds and how they can be applied to communities in Perth Wellington. Public transit isn't something in the traditional sense that we can make use of in most communities, but whether we can apply that to different projects, different opportunities. Same with social infrastructure. Some of these suggestions were daycare facilities, long-term care homes, seniors housing. Whether that would include things like recreation funding, we're not entirely sure yet, but we will be following up on that in the days and weeks to come. Second kind of priority I see going forward is the maintenance of the FedDev Ontario, Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario. They are making some changes to this agency. Its mandate is to diversify the economy, make strategic investments in businesses, communities. I think it's done some good work. I think it can still do good work. It's currently been shuffled under a different umbrella. It's now been combined with all the other economic development agencies, Northern Ontario, Northern Canada, Western, Eastern NACOA. So that's somewhat concerning. There's no longer a standalone minister responsible for Southern Ontario. I will be keeping an eye on that, and I hope that the goals and the intents of the program are maintained and do benefit our community. I think given the transitioning of our economy, I think it's important to have that agency there to assist. I know Mayor Bridge has worked very hard on things such as rural broadband, things like that. So maintaining those types of things would be important through this agency. Couple other final points more generally, agriculture programs. Growing Forward 2 is what we're currently operating under. That expires in 2018. The assumption is it'll be replaced with Growing Forward 3. So discussions will be beginning in the next few months at a preliminary stage on potentially what would be included, what changes might be made to the suite of programs, Agri-Stability, Agri-Invest, Agri-Recovery, so on and so forth, and what type of research funding will be included with that. So I'm particularly interested to see what comes of that going forward. Finally, the budget will be coming out at some point later this year. We don't have a date for that yet. Traditionally, late February, sometime in March, being around that time frame. The Minister Morneau, is currently undertaking a pre-budget consultation. So I would encourage anyone who's interested to provide feedback, whether directly through the ministry's website or to myself. I will be providing a report as well to the minister. So if you have any feedback you'd like me to take forward, I'd be happy to include that in my own report. Whether you want to give me a call later or let me know tonight, I'd be happy to bring back that feedback. And finally, I know Deputy Mayor Faulkner is very excited going forward, but the IPM in 2016.
You said the IPM. Oh,
So I am looking forward to being back, and doing all I can to assist it. My blue mittens have been making their way around Parliament Hill, and I've been inviting my colleagues and our leader to come back for the plowing match. So hopefully we'll have a good representation here in September. And I was involved with the 2013 plowing match in Mitchell. It's a little wet that year on the Saturday. We got rained out, but I've been assured it's gonna be perfect weather this September. So we'll hopefully see that going forward. So with that, before I do, I did actually forget to point out one of my staff members is also here, Matthew Ray, the short guy in the road there. Matthew Ray is working in my Ottawa office. You've probably seen him around town. His parents are Mervyn and Mary Ray from the 18, or just off the 18 line there. So he's a good Harrison boy here. So he'll be working in the office.
Who are also involved in IPM.
We're also involved in the IPM. Exactly. It all goes back to the IPM. So Matthew will be a good assistant in Ottawa. And one of the commitments I thought was important that my staff all be from the riding. So Matthew's from Harrison, so that's part of that commitment as well. Awesome. So that's all I have in terms of formal presentation. But if you have any questions or comments, anything to kick back, happy to.
Any comments for John? Oh, Belinda, yes.
I thought I would mention while you're here, the Clifford Homecoming is in 2017, and
Right.
they are applying, we're assisting them with applying for the celebrating communities through arts and heritage fund. So that's due January 31st. So if you have any assistance in seeing that get approved, we'd appreciate it.
No, I would certainly support that, and that sounds like an exciting opportunity. I guess 2 years time now.
Yeah.
Next year already. So I appreciate that. No.
That's right, David.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Bridge. John, ever since I met you months ago, you've been extremely energetic. And I'm glad that you were successful. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
I'm glad to hear you say cooperation with the present Parliament. I think that's important. Doesn't matter what color. You're working for us.
Mm-hmm.
And congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
And on behalf of the council, thanks for coming tonight. I certainly, when we had this discussion around the election time, and I always felt that we needed an office in Wellington County, and that was a permanent office, because as you just read, John, there's amazing amount of things that the federal government brings to us, and to have Terry here and have somebody that you can walk in locally anytime during the week and get something settled. There's nothing more unsettling than if you're dealing with the government and you're dealing with red tape and you just throw up your hands and you can't get through it. So I think having your office here, what an asset. Having it in the old post office, which is a great asset. You realize that the bell ring's going to be ringing every hour on the hour.
It'd be great. It'd be great.
But you're at the front. I see that you picked the best spot. And I'm really going to be talking to you about some of these issues with the infrastructure funding. As you know, and it was interesting when you mentioned the Southwestern Ontario Fund, because we're just at the process of the Western Wardens now, and I'm chair of the new Western Wardens Economic Development Committee, and I'm going around talking to other cities, because people don't realize, but west of Toronto is 3.5 million of us, and there's a lot of taxpayers, and we don't seem to get the voice we need to get infrastructure programs. It seems to get eaten up in the GTHA now, because Hamilton managed to squeeze into Toronto, and that's even worse now. But anyway, so we really need that, and I know on the eastern side of Toronto, the Eastern Wardens have got a pretty good system in place. So I'm looking forward to bending your ear a little bit on what we can do there and getting to the right people in Ottawa to make sure. The SWIFT program is coming along, the fiber optic program. We're really excited about it, and we're hoping that the federal government is going to commit to it. Fits right on all their needs on infrastructure. And the province seems to be coming in. So if we can get that funding, we can get pushing forward. And we really need for this, and Belinda and I talk about all this time, the knowledge economy. For us to grow in our area, we need the knowledge economy. We need the ability for people to access the cloud, and better than I do. And it's for the next generation in my mind. But if we don't have that, we can't bring our 30-year-olds back, have them raise their families here if they don't have that. And I was at a mayor's breakfast in Erin today. The question most asked to me was, how do we get people to move into our area? Because they have worse internet than we do. We have good internet in the towns. They don't even have internet in the towns. So that isn't fiber optic. They don't have fiber optic, and we're lucky we have it. But appreciate you being here, and you'll get a lot of work out of us. We'll be talking to you whenever we need it.
Please do.
And,
please do.
And good luck in your job in Ottawa.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Good job.
Thank you.
Mayor Bridge, if I could, I do happen to have a number for the office.
Oh, good.
338-3589. That's the new
It's on speed dial, right?
office.
And actually, I'm just noticing it's his fourth speed dial number he's got. I don't want to get any trouble. I don't want to cause trouble at home, but I might have there. And thanks for the audience for sticking around. And that was good. That was good for you, John. And we'll move forward, John. So now if anybody wants to go, they can definitely go. I'll let you.
Public question period.
Oh, yeah, our public question period. If you got a question, it's public question period. Anybody another question? Okay, that'd be great. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Doing a good job and nobody else.
Yeah, hopefully.
Even when you ask them to, they won't.
You know, you can take a picture with your iPad too, eh?
I know, yeah. I didn't want to complicate myself. I'm not into the cloud yet either.
Oh, good. That's how I'm coming down. Yeah, I am. I don't know. I'm so tired I wouldn't know it.
Me and you had no jacket on. You adjust that thermostat.
Let's go.
So I tried taking
Well,
a
you got
picture.
is there a hockey game on?
That's kind of cool. I took a picture.
Okay, moving on next.
It's kind of neat.
Yes.
Get lots of pictures of us.
Correspondence. Received for information. Is any correspondence there that? Yes, you have one,
Bridge,
right?
thank you. Yep. So February 17th, the Maitland Valley are going to have their annual general meeting. You guys have the invitation. Everybody's invited. I think our mayor has agreed to do the elections. So,
What?
I think you have, haven't you?
Yes, it's on there. Where is it? Did I see that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was in a letter, but you have a lot to read. So,
All right.
just,
Could you send me one of those things to put it in my calendar?
a lot of annual general meetings are pretty boring, but
But these are never.
yeah. So
I've been to them.
thanks
This
for
is
your
much fun than
support.
the rest.
Yeah, that's what I'd be thinking.
Okay.
Oh, no, no.
Sorry.
So it's at the library, for those of you who can't read.
Oh, yes,
I
yes.
know what these folks can read.
Oh. Okay, you good? And let me know about that. February 17th, I'll have to check that for you. And I didn't remember seeing that.
We'll put it in. We'll put it in your schedule.
You're just resident. Is it right in the letter?
No, it's in there.
It's right in the letter.
It's right in the letter.
So if you can't come, well, maybe we could ask our deputy mayor.
Well, we could, except he's in Florida.
If you want to hold your meeting,
Okay, all right.
I'll
enough of that.
promote the IPM.
I just want to bring up one on the Rural Ontario Institute announced the Youth Engagement Showcase finalists, and it was great to see that Megan
Yes.
Raptis is there.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Hey, Daddy.
yeah, I'm sure she'll get a good report in the paper when there.
Conflict.
Conflict. Okay. No, that's great. And Megan's done some great stuff for us, and having some youth involved in our cultural group, and of course what she does at the theater is next to none for a person her age and her ability. She's doing really well. So appreciate her on that. Is there anything else that I'm missing here? We got the.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Right here.
Oh, no.
I was wondering about the physician recruitment
Yes, RC citizen.
on page 70.
Yes, that's
Is
a
that
good one,
something
Judy.
that we should perhaps be supporting? Being
Supporting?
a
We certainly
rural
support
area?
it locally, don't we?
Well, I know we do, but this just makes it a little bit more public and adds a little bit of weight to.
And it was something we just discussed last meeting. So.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't think
And
we
asked if there was.
I don't think
something
we would
could-
argue that we agree with it, so maybe we could support it.
Good plan.
So what direction is the staff to?
Well, Mayor Bridge, if the mover of the correspondence includes that we support that motion, then
Yep.
we can support that motion.
So moved.
Oh, that's great.
Seconded
Then we
by
get it done right
Councillor
away.
Caldwell. Any other correspondence you want to talk about? I could maybe spend an hour or so on climate change, but not tonight.
Mayor Bridge, just on that note, we did hear back from Ministry of Environment, and they're still considering our delegation request for climate change.
Good.
And for the other ones.
I thought the ombudsman asked us to come and meet her personally.
And the ombudsman has called and would like to meet with the mayor. So
Shouldn't it? Who wrote that article? I think that was the Wellington Advertiser got me in trouble with the ombudsman.
And the Minister of Health has called. So
Okay, well, that's
I'm
good.
optimistic we'll at least get 2 or 3.
Good.
Perfect.
Did you vote on that, Mayor?
No, we haven't voted on it. All in favor? Okay. Good. Okay. Reports, committees, and town staff. Matters table of motions, committee minutes, economic development planning. Here she comes. Oop. What? Did I miss something?
I'd like to ask a question.
Where my chain of office is? Yes.
Is this meeting official? Will that be chain of office on?
Yes, he's okay.
It is, okay.
Yeah, technically.
All right.
But I will put it on for you, Councilor.
That's all right.
Yeah.
No, I really.
Start again.
That'll heat him up even more.
I'm cooking up here.
We don't want to hear that anymore.
You'll need a little break before I start my minutes.
Okay, yeah, good.
They're long
Here we
ones.
go. Here we
You
go.
didn't want any chili on him.
No, I don't want
Economic
chili.
development meeting.
I usually wear it around the town, around
That looks
places.
much better.
I feel better already. Let's start over.
Okay.
No, let's not.
Okay, go ahead. Are you ready, Melinda? Are you still waiting for me? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, go.
Okay, excellent. Okay, we had our economic development meeting last Thursday, so it's a quick turnaround the minutes. It was a very good meeting, and we got a lot accomplished in 2 hours. So we have quite a few recommendations here for you tonight, and so I'm sure there'll be lots of discussion. The first up is about the residential transition designation. So I'm going to get Mark to come up just in case you have questions about this. But basically where this came out of was our cultural plan, and we talked about the knowledge economy and workers, and basically in Harrison and Clifford, there's some large houses just outside the downtown core that would be ideal for people to run office service type businesses out of, as well as live there, make it affordable, and then perhaps open up some retail space in our downtown cores is where that came from. So Mark was at our meeting, and then he went away and did this report, which is included in your package, and he presented that to our committee, and there was a recommendation then made from our group that we pursue redesignation and rezoning. Sorry, my little thing here is tricky. Of those properties in Harrison and Clifford. Palmerston is fine because it already has them. Did you want to explain to them where that is? Or?
Yeah, there's sort of a historical thing that went on. Palmerston had the residential transition designation in the OP, but Clifford had a few, and Harrison had none. So when all the local OPs got brought into a county plan, that's what you had. So Harrison has no residential transition, and I think it's a good thing because it adds a bit of flexibility to the downtown. So some of these older houses, you can have doctors' offices and stuff, and take the pressure off the central business district. So I think it's a good thing.
Yep, and so we pretty much agreed with all of Mark's recommendations. The only suggestions that we had, Bill's got the Harrison map up there. So in number 8, the top part of that that's in white, we wanted to take that out of what he was suggesting. There was a house there that burnt down, and we want to keep that as commercial C1. And then the other one in number 9, that is the parking lot that the old post is using. So we didn't think that needed to go into the new.
But that's a separate owner, correct? Okay. That parking lot?
Yes, McPhail's own that,
Exactly.
and Michael's leasing it with the hopes of purchasing it.
Good.
I think we're going to leave 10 the way it is.
And yes, 10 we wanted to keep it as it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I noticed there's a list. They're restricted as to what they can put in these. So, but you could have a house and then an accounting firm and then another residence and then a lawyer. Is that
That's
the
correct.
idea?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that it has to be commercial.
No.
It can be all residential too.
A good example is Guelph, when you're heading in,
down
to go
the
downtown,
courthouse.
you see quite a few like legal office engineers, stuff like that, and that's kind of
A lot of lawyers' offices.
Yeah, and dentists.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess a lot of it, and I was a little late for that one too, wasn't I?
You missed that discussion.
I missed that part of Mark's presentation, but we talked about it before, and the idea was we're running out of retail space in our downtowns, and there's really not a lot of place to build them. So if we can ask maybe some of the doctors, or they can see an opportunity to move out into these areas, that would maybe work, or accountants and that type of thing. So we free up a retail store that I know we can probably fill. So it's a really good fit, and thanks for bringing this forward, Belinda, and recognizing that.
Yep. So the recommendation, do you read those later, Bill, or just accept the minutes and that accepts them?
If I may, through you, Mayor Bridge, if council is supportive of all the recommendations, then the motion is to approve the minutes, including the recommendations contained therein. If there are recommendations in the minutes that you don't like, we should pull them out.
Yeah, I was going to ask if that was
If this one's generally okay, we'll move on to the next one, I would think.
And then you can separate them as you go if you want to. Anybody all right with this one staying in for now? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So I get my little computer thing here working. Okay, so then on to the community improvement grants. So this is another interesting topic I'm sure have discussion on. Alrighty, so everyone knows that our CIP was approved, and we have lots of interest in our structural grant. Back in December, we approved the ones for 2015, and we approved some facade and signage ones for 2016. And the request from the Economic Development Committee was to come back with a report about, I guess, a criteria for analyzing the different applications, as well as how we were going to continue to give funding to projects when we were getting significant requests already in. So CAO White, CVO Kuipers, and myself created a checklist, which again is in your package. And Terry and I ran the old post, even though it was already approved. We ran them through this process, as well as these two applications, Latin Flair and Brett Young. And interesting of note is that the Brett Young application scored the same score as the post office, the old post building. So that's an interesting fact. Anyway, so what we're recommending here is that you receive our report and that we're recommending the approval of the Brett Young grant for $40,000 and the Latin Flair for $5,507.50, and that we add an additional $40,000 to our structural grants in the 2016 budget, which we talked about in the budget meeting. So I'm going to explain that a little bit. Our thought was that this plan would be over 5 years, so we had set aside so much money over 5 years, thinking it would be around $300,000 or so. A lot of the significant buildings that this program was designed for are great being undertaken right now. So basically what we're doing is just proposing to move some of that money up this year and not so much later years, like lessen it as it goes, as these buildings get improved. It lessens the need for it, I guess. So that's what our committee's thinking.
Really?
I have to say my obvious concern is this is January 18th. What happens if we get some substantial requests? We have 11 full months to go. We've already used 40 of the 80. If we get some projects that are definitely worthwhile coming through in June.
So our next round, so for structural grants, facade and signage are first come, first serve, and we review them when we get them. The structure one, we're proposing to have another intake in September. So people could have been working on their projects up until September, and they can apply. If they have projects planned from September till December that they're going to complete, then they can apply. So then we would have those ones to all look at and review. If we want, I believe this is correct, we could give the funds out in 2017. If it's a project that's later from September till December, we could give that into 2017. Does that sound right? Okay.
If I may just add to that, by the time they apply, see, we don't pay out until they actually do the work, and they have paid invoices. So even if we had a second intake in the summer and they started to do their work, we may see one more approved and finished in time for the year end, and then maybe we could commit the next year's budget to the project that finishes, say, in January or whatever. So and we think we have, by adding that 40 to, we have enough to address the ones we think are going to come forward.
Yeah, Terry and I kind of put a list together of projects that we're aware of that are happening or could be happening, and some of them don't hit, like on our checklist, they don't hit a lot of the criteria, so they might not score as high. So they may get something, but they might not get as much. And we were in support of this Brett Young project because they were purchased in 2015 in the spring, and they've already grown substantially and are hiring again. It's their first location in Ontario, so that kind of puts us on the map and could mean more for future growth in our community. And this grant basically depends, like what they do at that facility will depend on how much of a grant we're going to give them. So if you saw, I think you saw before and after, and it's like going to be a significant improvement. The property across the street from this is also for sale, and I'm sure the look of that building doesn't help that property value either. So.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Belinda, $40,000 seems like a lot. It's likely the most we've ever given out.
Well, we gave out 42,000 to the old post.
Okay. So as long as the criteria is the same for everybody, we can't listen to people say, how did they get so much money? How did they get so much money? How come I only got this much money?
That's my fear. So we're going to run out.
Yeah. So I mean, if the criteria is the same, you're telling us it is. Some people conform to different aspects of the criteria, and I'm in favor of it.
I don't think anyone went out and recruited people to apply for these. And we do have a checklist, so that prioritizes how it comes. So they have to go through a system where they fill out this checklist, That just a checklist at the time will tell us how much and whether they actually prioritize how much money we're going to give them. And I think what was the numbers on this? It was
24.
Like the return on investment.
that was 24 was on the list, right? The
Yeah, he scored
points?
the Brett Young scored 24.
And
yeah,
there was
and
another
the Old Post scored 24.
and there was another group that scored like 7. So that tells you, and then they break it down on how much dollars comes in.
And another, like, we definitely look at the leverage. So this Brett Young project, we're giving them 40, but they're spending 177,000. Not to mention all the other spin-offs, right? So I think when we're looking at how much money are we giving to these things, we have to look at the bigger picture. Like, for example, the Old Post. Yes, we're helping him like finance that project, but we know that if we didn't give that grant, he wouldn't have purchased that building. It would not be getting fixed up. There would not be 5 businesses moving in there with 12 employees. None of that would have happened. And it spins off, right? Once you have that building, then hopefully the other buildings will catch on and the downtown looks nice. People will stop. People want to be here. It's all that spin off, right? So it's not just think of one thing. It's like, what else?
We thought of it as an investment.
It's an
in the
investment,
future,
absolutely.
Future of Minto. So.
Yeah.
Hey, you talking to me?
And I guess I know Mary Lou's concerns because you know you got a program, and we have identified sort of in our minds what ones are out there that we think that it might come out. There might be other ones that come out too, but I'd rather do it while the fire's hot type thing. Put your pot on, because we could be sitting here with the money and nobody applies, and you know, so it's a great and good news story that we've got these 3 that were all really kind of in our mind problems. Like how many on this council had people come up and say, "What are you going to do with the old post office? Why don't you buy it?" Well, this is a lot less investment for us at $40,000. This property up in Clifford, when the people moved out, people said, "Oh, you lost a business." And it wasn't because they just had to get a bigger spot and they weren't willing to invest in that property. That's going to be a boom for Clifford. And then the one in Palmerston that we're probably going to get, again, that's a property that we were thinking we're going to have to take down. Possibly it costs $300,000 to rip it down. We're going to be able, you know, if we can enter the 40,000, the leveraging. We've seen it from our facade program. Just as adds on, and I think we'll be willing to put up some money to create outside the box things. And if worse came, and I'm Mary Lou, I know because she's the treasury or the finance chair, and she worries, and I worry too, but she worries more than I do, I think, because a good accountant does, right, Gord? Anyways, but at the end of the day, if we have to go find money somewhere else or do it, and 2 or 3 big projects that can bring workers in, we might have to look at thinking outside the box. I was really pleased today. One of the reports we had from our county economic development, remember our little $25,000 we get from the county? The first year we leveraged, I think we give out $175,000, leveraged it to, I think, 200 or something like that. Last year, the 7 municipalities that took the $25,000 leveraged that to $280,000 more. So we're seeing that. We're seeing that seed money really grow, and it allows other people to do other things. So I love this program, and if we get more product, that's a good news thing. We'll have to deal with it financially, and I understand that. But let's keep her going if we can.
Okay. So that's that one.
You hold me back, Mary.
No, you've talked me into it. I agree with you.
Yeah, you can go. You don't need to ask Mark anymore.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
All right.
Safe drive home. Safe drive, yeah. One more thing.
No.
Okay, so the next recommendation then came out of our Palmerston Downtown Revite Minutes. So if you've been in Palmerston recently, it's been a very happening place, which is nice to see. The committee definitely there's a lot more business people on this committee now, and they definitely have concerns around parking and safe crossing at the flashing light anyway, about pedestrians crossing there. So our Economic Development Committee reviewed that and basically came forward with a recommendation that we look at conducting traffic counts in downtown Palmerston and then see where we are then and then decide what's going to happen. In terms of the parking issue, they want to wait till some of this construction is done. Well, the construction on James Street, lots of properties on Main Street are under construction, so lots of contractors there. We want to reline some of the parking lots and make signs that there's public parking, see how that works out, notify the downtown businesses to encourage their employees to park off the main street, and see how that goes before we start doing anything around implementing parking time limits and stuff. So that's that recommendation. And then the next one, I think I've mentioned before about butter tarts and buggies. So horse and buggy trail meets butter tart trail. Butter tarts and buggies now expanded into Minto for sure. Wellington North Southgate. I know West Grey, Grey Highlands, and Mapleton are also considering the program. But we are for sure, well, I guess pending you approving this agreement, then we are going to be partaking in this project, and I think that's a real good thing for our area. Any questions about butter tarts and buggies recommendation?
Nope. Other than
Jean?
Jean?
So I asked participating in that. Do we have people who are wanting to participate in that? Or
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yes. So on February 12th in Mount Forest, we're hosting like an information event to let people know that we're doing this and signing them up for the program.
I have to bring samples.
Do you want in or?
Well, Jean makes the best
I know,
butter tart
that's-
around.
No, I'm just saying they'd be there. We could suggest people who'd like to be there to try them. To
Yeah.
see if they're suitable.
Well, and there's definitely a whole criteria. So one of the things with this program is that we want like the best of the best in our area, not just whoever has butter. We want the best product, and they have to have a criteria that they're meeting to be on this trail. So that's really important. So that's February 12th, I think, at 2 o'clock at the Sportsplex. We'll be sending out invitations to potential partners.
I think County Councillor Anderson's already asked to be a celebrity judge on this.
I will charge you for that.
Oh, but then we have to make it, if Jean puts butter tarts in, then we have a problem.
Conflict for
Yeah.
sure.
That's gonna be my new business.
Yeah. That's right. Well, aren't you going into the old post office with a nice? I thought the old post.
Confirmation from the other matter.
Okay.
I believe that's all of our
Oh, that's a lot.
recommendations.
Okay.
It was a really good meeting. So.
Yes, it was. Somebody move to accept the recommendations. Councillor Caldwell, Councillor Churton, all in favor? Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
And
Thanks, Belinda.
well, that leaves
Thank
us
you.
down to staff
Went quickly
reports.
for what it was.
We have our building official, our building system source water yearly report.
Oh, that'd be you.
Oh, here. Sorry, Chief.
A little punchy.
I'm a little punchy. Should have had coffee. They gave me coffee.
We're not gonna give you that.
Thanks, Stacy.
Mayor Bridge, members of council. So I have our yearly report on source water in front of me. Kyle Davis, RMO, we work together on preparing the report. I'm going to go through the information that you already know rather quickly. So in April, the Sauble Bayfield became effective. In December, Saugeen Valley was approved, and it becomes effective July 1st. This year, we have obviously been focusing on Sauble Bayfield Maitland Valley properties that were identified as it came effective first, and it has tighter timelines than the Saugeen. You already know that we have 4 municipal drinking water systems, Palmerston, Hairston, Clifford, and Minto Pines. And last year, at the beginning of last year, February, I believe, we had our first appointments. Terry and I and Kyle were all appointed. So this year, my primary focus was education and outreach under this Sauble Bayfield Maitland Valley plan. So we focused on those properties. Originally, at the beginning of the year, there was 26 properties that were identified by the Conservation Authority, and through some desktop analysis and knowledge of the properties here, we added a few properties and cut a few off that were no longer existing there. So we held an open well event last year, which some of you attended, to educate the public on what was coming. We also did a communications plan and launched our website through our working group with the county. This year, Kyle and myself, between the two of us, visited 25 properties. 13 of those properties were identified as not having any significant drinking water threats, but we did our mandated education and outreach for those properties. 12 of them, we are suspecting that they do have what they call dense non-aqueous phase liquid threats. We are waiting for guidance from the Ministry of Environment on identifying the specific chemicals that might be in some of these thousands and thousands of products that might be on some of the shelves in our retail businesses. So that's kind of where we're at as far as that goes. We have started drafting RMPs, which would consist of basic best practices, spills plans, that kind of thing, if they are legally obliged to have a risk management plan. We also have, excuse me, I've also started on verifying threats in Saugeen, so they weren't as successful at narrowing down the scope of the properties, so there was a considerable amount of threats compared to Asable in the Saugeen, over 80. I can't think of the number off the top of my head, sorry. And a significant amount of that number were properties that they thought could be on home heating oil. So I actually sent out mass letters to all those people, and we knocked some 40-some properties down to less than 5. So it was an easy knockoff with just a mail out, so that was good. We also did all our septic inspections required under the Building Code and the Clean Water Act. There were 6 in Minto. 5 of them were in Minto Pines. The other one was in Clifford, and we've only completed 5 of those. Sorry, of those 5, there was only one action required. It was a cracked lid on a septic tank, and it has been rectified or fixed. So that's good.
Not in the zone.
Other things that are happening primarily through our working group, which I'm heavily involved in, are the county has updated their mapping system to reflect the source water and the protection areas. And we have developed our screening applications, which I'm sure you are already aware, and all our education and outreach materials. Also, there's an official plan amendment that's all ongoing through the county. And so you should see that come as well. We also did data management, which we signed the agreement on December 15th, I believe, at the council meeting to approve that. And with that, there's also a data sharing network. So we commented on the plans, which are now approved. The septic inspections already mentioned. And basically, we are looking towards completing the risk management plans that are required this year. And we're just kind of waiting on guidance to actually get those legally in place in relation to the Dean apples. So, any questions?
How many hours do you work a day?
Same as everyone else.
Busy.
Yeah.
Busy.
Very good, Stacy.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Great report.
Okay. Sorry, I missed the mandatory reporting. We have completed it for this year and submitted it. So, all right.
Excellent.
Motion to receive the
Should we
Councillor
approve it
Henderson
too?
and Councillor Elliott.
Even though we don't ever have that.
All in favor?
Because he doesn't look like me.
Well, I know. I knew saw that the last time. I'm on top of you. It's been a long day. Okay, we're good. And moving along, we have a building on severance for NAP severance.
Report, yeah. So this planning application, they're the NAPs, which they had a severance previously last year and a zoning bylaw amendment for one of their properties. They do have 3 separate 100-acre parcels that have merged on title. So this severance is a result of that merge. And basically, they would like to sever Lot 39 from the remainder of the farm. We met, our regular planning group met to review the application, and there were no drainage concerns. And because it's a county road, the entrance wasn't applicable either. And there were no concerns from the other departments as well. So I would recommend that you guys that the county approve the severance with the condition that the owner satisfies all the requirements of us financially and otherwise. which we may deem necessary at the time of issuance of a certificate of consent. A pretty straightforward application.
So I think this one will get through land division too, maybe, because interesting. Seconded. Moved by Deputy Mayor Faulkner, seconded by Councilor Turton. All in favor? Opposed? There's nothing. We're not building on either one, right?
No,
And
it's
that's
just
why I say it should be fine.
Yes, it's pretty straightforward.
It's staying agriculture. It's not gonna. I don't think.
That's right.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
And we have Terry. These aren't the January totals.
No, these are the year-end, December and year-end.
I thought maybe you start going by weekly or something.
Well, then I'd have to not issue any permits for the rest of January.
Yeah,
so that
You're
might
kind of
make people
slacking
grumpy.
it.
So yeah, Stacy's been doing all the work for my department.
I was gonna say, like, you guys,
just
what are you
had
on
my
holidays?
feet up the whole time. So yeah, December was a relatively normal December. Issued 6 permits worth $336,000. So that time of year is normal. So rolling for the end of the year, we issued 188 permits worth about $23.65 million. It's a 62% increase over 2014 and 42% higher than our normal 10-year average. So that's good.
So what have you been doing?
Like I said, I've been having my feet up. 2015, our residential units were up as well. We issued a total of 35. 16 were single families in the mix. The rest were all multis. Versus 26 units in 2014 and 23 in 2013. So residential numbers were up. Industrial and commercial were lower this year, but it was offset by an increase in institutional and agricultural. Agricultural, we issued about 6.66 million, which is about 6.4% or times higher than normal, or 2.5 times more than 2013. So overall, in our digital records, this is the highest year we've had, which sits about 1.16 million higher than our previous highest. So overall, it was very good.
Good.
So, any questions?
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Are we still having people knock the door down? Knock your door?
It's a typical January. This point, it's too hard to say if I get a whole bunch of phone calls. A lot of them are still tire kickers. You know, people thinking of projects to do this year. So until spring starts warming up a little bit, that's when people really start putting her down and coming in. So at this point, it's anyone's guess.
Good. Other questions?
Good work. Really good.
And we have a motion to accept. Dirksen, all in favor?
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Bill, you're next. Yo.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. This report is regarding the Mill Street Park. We had been dealing with this matter in closed session. This property is owned by the estate of George Walke, and it has a 99-year lease with the Harrison Horticultural Society in it. The estate was working through TD Bank, and they were looking on behalf of the estate to dispose of the property. They approached the town, and we negotiated a transfer at no cost to the municipality, basically only our legal fees. The Horticultural Society lease would remain on the property, so they could continue on with their use of the lands as they have for the last, since 1958. And this would obviously become part of the town's open space system. So the recommendation is that you consider the bylaw in regular session, authorizing the mayor and myself to sign all documents that would allow that transaction to be completed.
So move.
Second, mate. Just the one thing, Bill, do we come then, if the Horticulture Society wants to go from underneath the lease, do they just have to offset that?
In this case, if they stop the lease, then it's just owned by the town. Right. So it would be up to us as owner to pursue them if they chose to.
But they don't have to pay the taxes anymore. If they stay on the lease, they still have to pay the taxes.
Not unless we make them pay them. So.
Yeah, we do now. Yeah. And My own opinion is we go approach them, have them help us with what we want to do with it, as far as, like we talked about before, having some feedback as to how we want to do it. But giving them a lot of credit, they've been paying, I think it's $80. It seems like a lot, but when you look to horticulture's budget, they don't have a big budget. $80 has been coming every year to pay for the taxes on this property that technically everybody thought we owned. I did. I didn't know it was any lease or whatever that was until this came in. So I think it's a win-win for us to get this finalized.
So it was the Horticulture Society that brought it in? Or who?
Well, no, because the estate then, once they went to the Horticulture Society as well and said, like, you want to buy it? Or then they thought the town would buy it. And at the end of the day, it's basically floodplain. It's not worth anything, right? Other than what it's being used for now.
How many other lots like that do we have? You think we own and we don't? Or we don't answer that.
No,
we do.
I'm going to put it this way: do you want to direct the council to check that out, or like I think we do a survey of properties.
Well, we
Oh, kidding aside, yeah, we have inventory.
we have a list every year.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll bring that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor Bridge, this one actually shows is owned by the Horticultural Society.
Yeah, this one did show that.
But it's important for the bank's purposes that the covenant remain. They've asked for that because that's how they justify the estate coming for $1.
Yes, exactly.
So our relationship with the Horticultural Society will continue for the foreseeable future. But if they did happen to violate any terms of the covenant, then the default owner is now us.
Yeah, so
not the estate.
So I think we don't charge them taxes.
Yeah,
no problem. Okay. All right. Did you do that? And I think we didn't do the vote. Yeah. Who was the seconder on that? Who was
Mary Lou
Who was the mover? Because yeah, all in favor, and then I moved off. All right, next.
Mayor Bridge, just some cleanup on the transaction with the Palmerston Trail Association. We had the documents ready back in August, and frankly, I think I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I think they've been struggling with actually signing off on the land, and they have some concerns that unfortunately I'm not able to write a letter and guarantee them that forever the municipality wouldn't allow motorized vehicles, and we really can't give them direction on the disposition of their assets. I think our direction back in May was that we would take ownership and that we would form a trail committee, which we have started to form, and we've begun that work, and that they would hopefully participate in that, and then issues that they have concerns about plaques and trees and use of the trails and so forth would be influenced through that trail committee. So one thing that maybe I think might help the group, and I'm certainly prepared to recommend to you, is that we put on the deed that the trail, that it always be used for trail. And that way we bind the future councils that this remain as a public trail, and would not be disposed for any other reason. If in 50 years council at that time didn't want that covenant on there, then they would have to approach the association if they're still around and get their consent to remove that. But I think it is a good faith statement to put on, at least address their concerns in their letter. The rest of them, as far as their assets and so forth, or regulating what goes on the trail through a deed and that kind of stuff, I wouldn't recommend to you, but I do recommend the covenant. I think it's clear what our intent is, but putting that on there, I think, just helps with the groups moving forward.
Deputy Mayor Falk.
In a way, I concur with CAO White. On the other hand, if there is an economic correction and the town has to cut expenditures someplace, I'm not so sure we should give away our decision to not maintain that trail anymore. And I don't mean that that we want to, but we have to have an escape there, that if there's an economic correction, we can't afford to keep those trails up anymore, that we properly sign it and say this trail is not being maintained. I have a concern about dedicating future monies I don't know. And yet, if we can keep that trail, it'd be great. But I do have concerns about locking us in for that length of time.
Tend to agree.
So, to me, I mean, I think I would be comfortable making that covenant because I would think that a future council could, I don't want to say break that covenant, but could change their mind on that one. It's like right, you mentioned earlier, we don't have any closed roads in Minto because of structure issues or whatever, but that doesn't mean that us or future council wouldn't be put into that position, and the council of the day would have to make that decision given the information they have at that time. So I don't have a problem with saying, yeah, that's our intent. And I don't know how, I mean, I don't understand legally how much we would have to say.
That's my concern.
Yeah.
Is like if it came to that situation, are we opening ourselves up for liability and lawsuits and all that kind of stuff by having that covenant without an escape clause?
Yeah,
okay. So, Mayor Bridge, I think through our strategic plan, we're trying to make communities here of trails for our people, and we make decisions every council meeting that are going to possibly affect future councils. I'm not sure if we can say to this group of people, they have it, they've maintained it for a long time, they want to kind of dedicate it to us, right? And the town, and they want us to kind of take ownership. There's a lot of things that we do that again, that will affect, and I mean, if you tell these folks, there's got to be something that we can put in the agreement that will protect us from. That's all I have asked. There's got to be.
I guess I would point out, and I know they've been around for a long time, and a lot of people donate money to the cause. I don't know if it's in their bylaws that they could easily have it there, but what happens if they're finding it's hard to maintain now? They're asking us to take it over. In my mind, we could do something, and if you could find a way to word it, Bill, that said this is the #1 priority for it, that we perceivable future would deal with it. It's our Saskatoon project. But like if for some unknown reason trails become under a logistic thing, get big trails, and we get all kinds of lawsuits come at us and everything else, financially we couldn't afford insurance on it anymore. Or we'd have to. There's things that could cause us to have to say no. We'd have to close it down. And I think those are the concerns I have. And I think you can tell them that. It's not like we would ever perceivably. I don't think future councils, unless there's a financial hardship, would close it down. But we can maybe word it like that and say that it's #1 priority and keep it. But I've got a little concern about that. We ran into a problem we're looking into now with one of our properties, that it was always supposed to be for a park. Well, it's not used for a park. We've no ability to keep it a park. So we're sitting there now saying, well, now we're stuck because we told somebody in a little writing, or somebody in Minto Township did, and that's hard because we could probably flip that to something else and get something for it. To do something else to benefit the community, but we're kind of caught. So I wouldn't want to put future councils in the same boat. I mean, so
if I may, I think there's probably a way of writing it in, and it could be a commitment to that trail association for so long as they exist. And then, if in 10 years they still exist and they're raising money and they're giving the Minto Trail Association a few $1,000s to do this or that, and council says, you know what, we just can't afford trails anymore, we're going to sell them to all the abutting owners, then we have to get a clearance from that group. But if that group passes on its assets and disbands, then it's really just a political commitment beyond that.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's you own the land and you can do what you wish for it. In the case that you're mentioning, there's actually still family members around that you would have to get them to release their interest in let you use that for some other use if you wanted to do it. So that's how much you would be encumbered here. But I think we would probably make a commitment to the group. And you've strategically made that commitment to the ratepayers through your strategic plan that this is the way you want to go. So it's pretty clear your intent.
Sorry, I did disagree, but I just don't think we should legally make that commitment. I think it's our intentions. We want to keep it as a trail, but we don't know what the future is to bring. And that group could be around for 50 years. And we could tie ourselves to a position where there is a very strategic reason why we have to turn it into something other than a trail, and they disagree, and we can't. I just feel we can't legally bind ourselves, is all I'm saying.
If I may, what if it went back to them so then if they're here in 50 years, they can run it in a trail, then we don't have to, right? Would we, I mean, you never know what it might be like, but I guess what they're saying is if we're still around, we'll run it and you can't sell it off to the agricultural end owners beside it or whatever. That's right.
Yeah,
that was kind of what was running through my head, if that would be acceptable.
That would work.
Well, it would work, Mayor Bridge, except that we're accepting liability, but giving away the decision-making process. And I'm sorry, I got an issue.
Well, okay, let me think maybe what Bill's saying, and I'm trying to get it around my head. So we consider that, and I don't know what the situation probably would be, cost of maintaining the trail or the insurance in my mind, but something will crop up because I can't see. It would be we could turn it back into a rail trail, but it would go nowhere, right?
Yeah.
So my concern would be, so if that's the concern, if we couldn't get insurance, they'd never be able to get insurance. Right. So if I'm saying that portion would go back to, if that organization still existed, could go back to. I don't see that first right of refusal to either purchase it or whatever.
Oh, that I got no.
Yeah, that's the first right of refusal. So that gives them a chance to say,
retain ownership.
For some reason we're guessing in the future, but I don't know why a council would change it into something else that wasn't a trail. But if we did come up with something like maybe that we wanted to do, then we'd have to give first right of refusal or give them money back or whatever. We'd have to deal with that, whoever was the person. So I think first right of refusal almost gives them the protection they want, because if they're still around and we're doing something they don't like.
As long as we're not giving a covenant, and a covenant is binding.
Is that what you thought of first right of refusal?
That's where my thought had migrated to as I listened to council speak.
Okay.
But what I would do, Mayor Bridge, through is I guess I could have that covenant. I would have that covenant reviewed by
lawyer.
The lawyer, just to make sure that it redressed council's concern that there be a process by which that they could extricate themselves out of it if they didn't want to be part of a trail anymore.
Because maybe my definition of a covenant is different.
Well, the covenant is just is what we're saying. Like, depending what you decide to definition.
You're signing a document saying I will.
Yeah, I will give you first right of refusal if you don't agree with what we're doing with it.
Yeah, that I can.
Puts it back to them, and if they want to take it back, they can take it back then. So that protects them. If their only concern is it can't be turned into anything but a trail.
It protects us too.
Protects us too. I like that. But get a legal opinion, because I'm not a lawyer.
Just don't want to say we will retain that trail forever.
Well, we're not. If we have to change the use of it, we give them first right of refusal for their portion to go back to them.
Right on.
That might work.
Yep, I think that would work.
Gives everybody the rights. So check that out for us.
I can. So
we
would
delaying this again.
Someone move the recommendation on that basis. We would make sure it reads like that.
Yep.
Double check the covenant with the solicitor.
Councilor Dirksen.
And I will second.
Deputy Mayor Faulkner, all in favor? Good. Okay. I'll turn it over to Councilor Caldwell.
Hey.
For a major part of the whole meeting tonight. Oh, it's a big one, though.
It is a biggie.
Holy moly. What are we doing? Roads?
Nellie Gordon, are you still here?
Yeah.
Car or something?
Look at the time.
And the Finance Committee, after our long budget meeting this afternoon, only has one item on the agenda, and that's the approval of accounts. And I'll turn it over to Treasurer Duff.
Great. Thanks, Chair Caldwell. I don't know if I'm on or not, but anyway. We have a very large balance anyway, 1.9 million. And the interesting thing is, there's 3 invoices that's over 1.5 million. And so it's doing our work for the construction. Yeah, that's right, sir. My friend behind me. So it's the various streets, which is all the different paving projects, and that. If you remember, we had various streets and asphalt, 2 large tenders last year. So this is part of the various streets one, and it's 195,000. So that's paving and sidewalk and that. various streets. The other is the Bride Road, so that was a culvert under the OCIF program. Came well under budget. This is another $321,000. I think we initially estimated about $650,000 for that. It's coming in about $425 or so, and we have a good portion of funding on that one too. And then the big one at $1,014,000, that is Minto's share of the downtown Harrison work, right from the lights right to the southerly limits by Murphy's Timber Mart there. So its overall project is still relatively close to budget, and that overall project is right from William to the southerly limits. And so we'll hope to do the final 2 blocks north of the lights early in the spring, and that's going to be probably in the neighborhood of $750 to $850 or so by the time it all is said and done. But this includes the final release of holdback and everything for the section of the street that is already done. And we've also paid for the decorative lighting and some of the other streetscape features separately. So overall, I would say it's like within 5% of the budget there. So that one's good. Couple other smaller things. We did the wayfinding signs for $10,000, and we did some work, kind of an interesting one. I know our facilities director is pleased that we were able to get the wheels or the trucks under the Cook car at the Railway Museum, and they'd be moved onto the tracks, and that was all accomplished for about $5,000. And in the recreation programming section, they're going to move back to the Keystone system away from another software program, and the licensing and all that. It's about $4,300, and they hope that'll improve our online booking features and improve that kind of service. So again, it's kind of the way it goes. You have the summer, sometimes we don't have that many invoices and all the work's going on, and the invoices have come through for summer and
pay
fall.
the piper.
That's right. Yeah.
Are there any questions? Then the recommendation is that council receive the treasurer's report dated January 11th, 2016 regarding approval of accounts, and approves the town of Minto accounts by department for December 2015. From Councillor Churton, seconded by Councillor Dirksen. All in favor? The motion is passed.
Okay, thank you.
And I thank you, Treasurer Duff, and I turn the chair back to Mayor Bridge.
Okay. I got a little pleasant thing to do. It's always great to acknowledge some of our staff, and maybe I'll get Bill to come down. Or it would be.
No, you and the deputy mayor usually do it.
Oh, you? Okay. Take a picture. If Anne Lee would come up.
Take a picture.
I'm looking around. So, Annalene, what I'm really pleased with, and our staff do such a great job of training and trying to increase their abilities. And I know you've worked really hard on this. It's not an easy thing, and especially, and I've had to do a few things when I was in the bank, take courses like the financial planning course and stuff while you're still working. It's not a lot of fun, and when you get older, it's harder. Not that you're old. Oh my goodness, how late is this? I'm going to fall apart here at the end. But anyways, the Council of the Town of Minto recognized Annalene McRobb for achieving the accreditation of the Certified Municipal Officer, CMO. Congratulations, it's a long job. Yeah. Did you want to say a couple words?
No.
Yeah, come on.
Sure. Come on. We got a big guy on the other side of you, so you're not going anywhere.
Here, okay, we're gonna take
All right.
One more?
I think he says one more.
Very good.
Good job, Eileen.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything much to say, but thank you. I've had a lot of assistance from other staff as well, and having the ability to come out here and work at night on my own time to get it I was about 200 hours probably of working on it, and I had some lovely crows that would join me every night, tapping on the window, scaring me. Yeah, they're scary. But anyways, thank you very much.
All right. I don't. Maybe we marked down for any other business, so I guess we can. Ron Faulkner and Dave Turner.
Dave Turner.
I don't know. Let me have a look at my list. Have we said anything at the beginning?
No, he didn't.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
I don't
Yes,
think
thank
so.
you.
I don't think so.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo some of Annalene's words here. February 21st is this year's Bowl for Big Brothers and Big Sisters. And the theme this year is superheroes, so not sure who you're going to dress up as, Brian, but Annalene's looking for a team. And I'm already bowling, and I'm sure other people are bowling for their different groups. So the important thing is to get involved and bowl for big brothers and sisters. Thank you.
You want to say something?
Yes,
else?
please.
Oh, and Mary Lou does too.
Go ahead.
Oh, mine's real quick. I told you last month about the annual meeting for the Chamber of Commerce on February the 8th, but we didn't know the location. It's at the CNR building in Palmerston. And as I mentioned, at 6:30 is strategic planning. Everyone is welcome for that, but the actual general meeting starts at 7:30.
Hey, Ron.
Okay. IPM, just this Friday, our Tended City chair and the executive chair, Bill and Terry White, and a group of people are getting together to do the mapping for Tended City. And that's exciting. And the county, we're meeting with the county Friday morning to solidify their area of Tended City. And at 2 o'clock, we are meeting with the Department of Health. So things are rolling around. Things are falling so nicely into place.
You're able to go for 6 weeks.
And no.
10?
5 weeks.
5 weeks, sorry, 5 weeks.
Not 6.
5.1.
He's really
Who's going to give you a report?
I can't believe it.
I don't know, but it'll be done. It'll be done.
He's only missing 2 meetings.
So, anyways, I just can't say enough about members of the community stepping up to the plate. We filled the beautification chair, and parking is pretty well solidified. And I just got handed 6 volunteer sheets from Fergus, from a person in Fergus. So the knowledge is out there, and people are stepping forward, and it's getting exciting. It really
Got
is.
10 people now.
Yeah, no. I must say, we need 1,250 volunteers to do the actual project, and we have approximately over 500 right now. And but the majority of those volunteers are needed during the week of the match. So it's coming nicely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Actually, I'm going to kill myself for doing this, but I was at the here in Mayor's breakfast in the IPM. I did bring a report, and it was in actually our county report. So there was some questions asked of how they could get involved and volunteer in the south. So I did give them the information needed, and
excellent.
Hopefully, you'll get some from here. So it's getting out there to the county.
Excellent.
Anything else? Okay. No. Give me the stuff here.
Slide.
Moved by Councillor Caldwell, second by Councillor Dirksen. The town of Minto Council convenes in the committee of the whole. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Turton. The committee of the whole convenes in a regular council meeting. All in favor? Yep. Moved by Deputy Mayor Faulkner, second by Councillor Caldwell. The council of the town of Minto ratifies the motions made in the committee of the whole. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Turton, second by Councillor Elliott, that bylaw number 2016-04 to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute a purchase agreement for Mill Street Park, Harrison, be introduced, read, and first, second, and third time, and passed open council and seal of seal corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councilor Anderson, second by Councilor Dirksen, the bylaw number 2016-05 to confirm actions of the Council of the Corporation Town of Minto be introduced and read first, second, and third time and passed over Council and seal of the Corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councilor Dirksen.
Quite a night.
Well, it's almost over. I almost made it. I almost made it. Judy, sorry about that. Moved by Councilor Dirksen, second by Councilor Turton, that the Council of Town Minto adjourns to meet again at the call of the mayor. All in favor? Thank you very much for a long meeting.
Judy, don't take it personal.
No.